Okay, so Abel Cunningham here, Bigfoot scientist. So again, taking a break from some of the research that we've been doing, some of the great game camera footage that we've got. If you want to check out some of those videos, feel free to do so. But doing a little bit something different here and reading some of the witness accounts that I've got in email. You know, people have been contacting me asking to share their stories, and it's something I'm more than happy to do. So if you have a story, a Bigfoot encounter that you'd like to share, feel free to reach out to me. You can go to www.603bigfoot.com and you'll find my email address there. Anyways, this one is from a trucker. Calls himself Bubba. I don't know if that's his real name or that's an alias, but he said I could use that name. And so I'll go right to the email. Abel, I recently found your channel, and I thought you would want to know about one of the experiences I had in New Hampshire about 2 or 3 years ago. I drive a semi for a well-known trucking company. I was a long-haul trucker for over 20 years, but recently switched to regional routes around New England so I could spend more time with the grandkids. That's nice. You know, spending time with the family is definitely important, so I get where you're coming from. I figure I have close to 3 million miles behind the wheel. Wow, that's a lot. So I've created my fair share of road pizza, road pizza over the years. When you're hauling upwards of 20 tons at 70 miles an hour, there's not much you can do when something runs out into the road. Anything smaller than a moose doesn't even faze me anymore. You've probably seen what a deer looks like after it gets hit by a semi. There's not much left to it at all. No sense stopping, so I learned to just keep rolling. Yeah, makes sense. One of my routes takes me up to Burlington, Vermont, which anyone from the area will know means heading up north on 89 through western New Hampshire and up across Vermont. If you're from the area, you're probably familiar with that route. I drive it all the time when I'm headed to Vermont to do research or to go skiing. But yeah, know exactly what you mean. Most of 89 is cutting through rural forested areas, so a lot of deer get turned into road pizza on that road. There's one section in New Hampshire between exits 11 and 14 where some guys have even hit wild boar that escaped from a game preserve nearby. So this is actually interesting. You can see this from 89. If you're going north on 89, it'll be on your left, and you can kind of see there's like a ridge, mountain ridge that's not as forested as some of the other mountain ranges. And it's actually a 20,000 acre private hunting preserve that was started, like, I don't know, back in 1920 something by a wealthy banker. Back then they had like rhinos and giraffes and all sorts of crazy stuff that people would pay big bucks to come and hunt, and it's still a thing today. They don't have the crazy exotic animals because they couldn't survive the New Hampshire winters, but they still have elk, wild boar, and I'm not sure what else. But he's right, occasionally a wild boar escapes from Corbin Game Preserve, tears up the yard in one of the local towns, or gets killed on Route 89. It's kind of a cool thing. And if you go to the game preserve, it's you know, it's huge, 20,000 acres. It's surrounded by miles of probably 8 to 10 foot chain link fence with barbed wire on the top. It kind of looks like a mini Jurassic Park. Anyways, I know where he's talking about. So it was on this stretch of road that I had the strangest experience of my life. It was early winter and there was a little snow coming down, so the road was getting greasy. I was taking it easy, keeping it to double nickel or less, headed southbound back from Burlington. I had to look up what some of these hunter term means. Double nickel just means he's doing 55. Greasy is just like trucker lingo for the roads getting slippery. It was between 1630 and 1700 hours when this happened, so it was dark. I was 4 or 5 yardsticks, but yardsticks is another trucker lingo for a mile marker. Past exit 14 when a deer bolted across the road just at the edge of my headlights. I had just enough time to think what a lucky SOB that deer was, because if he had been half a second slower, he would have been turned into road pizza. Whatever was chasing him wasn't so lucky. It was tall enough that I could see its head over the hood of my anteater just as my rig hit the thing. As I said, I usually don't slow down when I hit wildlife, but for the life of me, I had no idea what I hit. I thought maybe it was some crazed hillbilly or hermit. Yeah, we got some of those around here, that's for sure. I coasted in the breakdown lane, put my flashers on, and grabbed my spotlight. First thing I checked was the grill of my rig. It was covered in hair, blood, and guts, but that wasn't what shook me. Sticking out of the grill was some sort of hand, but it definitely wasn't a human hand. The skin was the wrong color and it was covered in gray or silver hair. It kind of reminded me of the chimps that I see at the zoo. That's interesting. I didn't even want to look for the rest of it. There was no cell coverage in that stretch of road, so I jumped back in the rig, got on the radio, and called it in on Channel 9. I'm pretty sure Channel 9 is the channel that you use for emergencies on the CB radio. Sorry, I got the Bigfoot hounds with me there. They might have caught wind of a squatch or something. Within 5 minutes, a statey was pulling up with his blues on. But no sooner than he pulled in, he's missing a word, pulled in behind me, than there was a whirlybird coming down. I'm not an expert on choppers, but it was all blacked out and had no markings on, so all I could think was it was military or government. 4 very serious, well-armed guys dressed out in what looked like black fatigues jumped out and ordered me to stay in the truck. 2 went to the front of my truck and got to work, while the others searched the interstate behind. They had gloves, masks, and plastic bags like you would see on CSI or something. I didn't think of it at the time, but I'm remembering not a single vehicle drove by while they were working, so I bet they had crossed off the interstate further back. Yeah, I know they do that when there's like an accident. They'll shut off the interstate because that's only a 2-lane highway, so a lot of times they'll go and they'll shut off the highway at the next closest exit so you don't get 5 miles down the road and stuck behind a semi that's jackknifed. Anyway, so that makes sense. Anyway, when the guys were done with the front of my truck, they motioned me to pull out and move on. I don't know how long they were there. It seemed like hours, but I remember checking the clock as I pulled away and it read 17:04, 100 hours, so it couldn't have been more than a couple minutes. I thought it was odd that they didn't say anything to me. I expected them to say, "Don't mention this to anyone," or hit me with some sort of memory erasing trick like the feds do in the movies. I guess they knew no one would believe me even if I told them, and I haven't told anyone until now just for that reason. You're welcome to share this with your followers, Abel. I hope it encourages more to come forward with their stories. Keep up the good work. Appreciate it. Over and out. Bubba. Wow, that was definitely a super interesting story. I mean, I've always thought, well, I've received a lot of reports from around Corbin Game Preserve. I think, Sasquatch can get over that fence and probably, prey on the elk and wild boar in there. So it's kind of been a hotbed of Sasquatch activity as well. So that definitely lends some weight to the story. That and, I feel like truckers are for the most part, pretty honest, regular Joe guys. I don't know why this guy would make up something like that. I can't imagine he's looking for attention or anything. The other interesting aspect is, the government angle. A lot of these reports that you hear, where there is a dead body, some unknown, 3-letter agency moves in pretty quickly and clears out the body. So I don't know, it all jives with other reports that I've heard. So I appreciate your courage, Bubba, to come forward. Certainly an interesting story. I'm more than happy to share it with my listeners. And I hope, others feel compelled to send me their encounters as well. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story, and thanks again to Bubba for sharing.